I've been looking forward to this interview, Joan, since I booked it a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
Let's welcome to the program out of Memphis, Tennessee, Pastor Kenneth Whalum Jr. Pastor, thanks for joining us on Super Talk.
Good morning, Dan, and thank you and your listeners for this time.
So from what I understand, you are a pastor, and are you based right there in Memphis?
Memphis born, Memphis bred, and when I die, I'll be Memphis dead.
Okay, very good. Well, hopefully that's not going to be, it's going to be a long time from now. But you're a pastor, and you are asking for the National Guard to come into Memphis. You want Governor Lee, you want Donald Trump. You want them to do anything and everything they can to bring in some additional help. What exactly, have you reached out to the governor? Have you reached out to the president? What's going on?
Well, I've been calling for National Guard involvement since 2023 when we had and I know you guys knew about it back then, 2023, we had a mass shooting on Beale Street, and I was the lone voice crying in the wilderness. In fact, people laughed at me and told me that was ridiculous, but now it's happening. The president has signed the memorandum of authorization. The governor has accepted it. Our mayor, Paul Young, is excited about working with the task force, and I'm just very excited about it.
So back in 2023, you said that you felt like a voice in the wilderness.
Yes.
I remember, because I'm in Nashville, and I covered that. And I couldn't imagine being in the position that you're in, born in Memphis, you're still in Memphis, you said you'll die in Memphis. It had to be frustrating being that lone voice in the wilderness. But, from an outsider looking in, it's perfect sense. Did you get a lot of pushback from the community when you were asking for just that back in 2023?
No, that's a weird thing, Dan. There was absolutely no pushback from the community in terms of the people who live in the streets and walk and work in Memphis. No pushback at all. The pushback came from elected officials and local media who either ignored the pleas or simply said that because it was me, for whatever reason, it couldn't have been the right thing to do. But I'm used to that. If you are worth your salt as a leader, not just a church leader, if you're worth your salt, you're going to be in positions sometimes where you're the only one. So that doesn't bother me. I'm encouraged, however, now that, man, I read this memorandum all day yesterday morning, and I read it again this morning. I'm not sure the people who oppose the National Guard have read the memorandum, Dan. This thing is unprecedented. Governor Lee did an exclusive interview on the NBC affiliate here in Memphis on Wednesday, and I've never seen him so giddy and so excited about something that could make a big difference in the largest urban city in the state of Tennessee.
Pastor, I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I've never been to Memphis.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get off the highway. And I think that there's a lot of people that feel that way. And you live there in Memphis, in West Tennessee. Talk a little bit about what it's like to live there, to be in the community, to be immersed in all of that.
Memphis is a treasure, man. Memphis, 7 letters, Memphis. Those 7 letters are, I believe, have the potential to show the world what can happen when people rise up out of adversity. Many people around the world know that Memphis, the only reason they know about Memphis is because Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated here. That's the only reason a lot of people even know about us. And I think because of that unique distinction, Memphians have a special kind of love in their hearts, a special kind of thankfulness to God. And they really want to show the world that we can succeed. So that's my experience in Memphis. I love it, man. The blues, the gospel music, the church community, the love of the people. It's just amazing to be here on this southwest corner of the state, on the banks of the Mississippi. The historical value, man. It's hard to put into words. I love Memphis, man. I love it, and I believe that a stronger Memphis makes a stronger Nashville and a stronger Tennessee. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
One of the things, Pastor Kenneth Whalum Jr., by the way, joining us from Memphis, and one of the things that a lot of folks say is that I think President Trump actually said this: Tennessee will never be as strong as it could be unless we get Memphis under control. And, you said it a few moments ago, which was you've got lawmakers there who are against the National Guard coming in. And I guess my question is, and you talk about the greatness of the people of Memphis, and certainly I'm sure the people within your church are incredible. But I've got to ask the question. I mean, these folks keep getting voted in. How does that keep happening?
When you figure that out, Dan, please let me know, and I'll be able to.
Yeah.
I'll be able. Listen, here's the deal, and I don't think it's unique to Memphis in this regard. People don't really pay attention until the trouble comes to their front door. We as a society have become so comfortable in our environments that we really don't think it matters. I have heard people say, and I'm sure you have too, I have heard people say, why should I vote? It doesn't matter. Well, I think we're seeing the results of it right now. Anytime, listen, Dan, there are two, and please forgive me, I'm just passionate about this, man. There are two people who organized a press conference yesterday on the Memphis City Council. One of them is running for governor, and the other is running for Shelby County mayor. Well, Stevie Wonder could see that their motive for opposing the National Guard is to get free attention. And I don't understand how educated voters could even fall for that kind of thing.
But they are. And we see this happen in cities all across the country. I mean, that have the same issues as Memphis does. And one of the things that people will say, and it drives me crazy, but you're there, but one of the things people say, and they said it about Washington, D.C., they're saying about some of these other cities too, is, well, the crime rate is getting better in Memphis, so there's no reason to do this. Talk about that.
Oh, man. Listen, last Sunday night, 4 children were shot inside their home. A 3-year-old, a 6-year-old, and 2 15-year-olds happened to be black in a black neighborhood. Guess who they were shot by? They were shot by other teenage blacks. The parents of those children, the grandparents, the neighbors, are delighted to see the National Guard come in. What is happening is that those few political leaders who are so vehemently opposed, what they're really saying, Dan, is, no, we like it the way it is. We appreciate it. We want to have this kind of violence in our streets. And I believe reality is going to slap them in the face. I just hope it's not too late. Dan, within this memorandum, not only has the president authorized 13 federal government agencies to help, the language of the memorandum says that he intends for them to assist law enforcement efforts in Memphis. Not only that, there are another 10 federal agencies that he's authorized to step in if they need to step in. I don't think this is rocket science. I think that there are a few people who are shouting loud to get the attention, but I think most people are supportive of this effort.
Pastor, you mentioned a few moments ago that there were 4 children that were shot in Memphis. I think you said inside their home, and the suspects were, I think you said, teenagers.
Yes.
One of the things that a lot of folks talk about is that there's a lot of teenage crime specifically happening in a lot of these cities, and it's happening all across the country. It's not just in Memphis. But how do you, acknowledging the problem, which I'm certain that you would, how do you, as a pastor, combat that?
Well, you have to. One way is you look at it from a macro view, which is what you just referred to, and that is that these problems are existing across the nation. But as a pastor, I have to narrow my view. I have to come in with a micro view and focus on the children within my church. And I have to teach them the consecrating power of worship. I have to teach them that if I fall on my face before God and listen to him and honor him, he will consecrate my mind and tell me what to do, who to hang with, what decisions to make. I think that it is up to, and not just black pastors, I think white pastors, other religious leaders have to teach by example. Now, that's a slow process unless we get a critical mass of pastors who are teaching that kind of thing. And I don't think it would be long before it had a positive effect. The problem is we don't have as much time as people tend to think we have.
Pastor, let me ask you, of course, you're aware of the death of Charlie Kirk, the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And I'm just curious if you have a thought on what his death means overall to, folks in Memphis. One of the things that I've noticed, just to put my cards on the table, is I've seen a lot of videos from people who are white, but also black, who feel like they've been lied to about what Charlie Kirk actually stood for. And what it's doing is it is inspiring them to do their own research on things like Charlie Kirk and maybe some other things as well. And they're realizing that maybe there's another way not only to live life, generally speaking, but also politically. And they're coming over to, the more conservative side of the aisle. Have you noticed what has been your reaction to the death of Charlie Kirk and how it impacts Memphians?
My reaction is that we are teetering. Teetering is my word. We're teetering on the brink of either an enormous revival or a continuing spiral into and a devolvement into chaos. One of the things that I don't know whether it saddens me as much as it sort of, if I were drunk, this kind of information would snap me, it would make me sober right quick. Yesterday, as I told you, the Memphis City Council, led by Democrats on the council, and most of whom are black, because this is Memphis, and we are the blackest, if you will, city in the United States of America. They staged a protest press conference. I told you about that earlier. But also, a couple of hours after that, a group of people, Republicans mostly white, staged a protest demonstration, a press conference to welcome the National Guard. Well, I don't think life is lived on the fringes. I don't think that life is either black or white or Republican or Democrat. And what I think is going to happen as a result of Charlie Kirk's death is that I think the people who live real life, which is sort of in the middle of the road, away from the extremes, I think we are going to wake up and realize that we've got to get along. We have got to get along. We've got to love one another. And we've got to allow each other to be who we are. And if we do that, we're going to be okay. That doesn't mean that violence is going to stop. Doesn't mean that problems are going to end. It means that we will be in a position where we can make things better.
One of the questions that a lot of folks are asking, final question, and I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. One of the big questions is, okay, so let's say the National Guard goes in, the 10 other agencies, they do everything they need to do, acknowledging the fact that we maybe need to look at sentencing laws as well, that kind of a thing. But what happens when the National Guard leaves?
Well, if what Governor Lee hopes and if what the president says and if what Mayor Paul Young articulates come true, then we are going to be a model for the nation. We, Memphis, and we should be. As I said, we hold a particularly unique distinction as the city where Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated. And if the National Guard, and I'll call it this, an experiment, if the experiment works, we're going to set the tone for the rest of the country, especially large urban areas. But that's a big if. And I think that I would have my head in the sand if I didn't acknowledge that it could be that it won't work. And if it doesn't work, it means that everybody didn't do what they could to make it work. And that's one of the things that concerns me about this knee-jerk reaction of these so-called political leaders who oppose it without having even read the memorandum. I think they may be setting themselves up for failure. And rather than strategize to make sure that the thing works, they're wasting focus on opposing it.
Well, I got to tell you, Pastor, I'm very impressed by you. I love what you have to say. And do you mind if we keep in touch with you? And when, all of this really starts to begin and we see National Guard there in the city of Memphis, can we check back in with you and find out the very latest on the reaction in the city?
Absolutely, Dan. I appreciate it. And hello to Nashville, Broadway, and hello to Country and Western, and hello. I don't know if people realize, but Nashville is really the hotbed of gospel music recording in the United States of America.
You know what? We've spoken about it before. Absolutely. That is a very, very big part of Nashville's footprint as well. And if you ever come to Music City, you got to stop by WTN, okay?
I'll be there, man. Thank you.
All right. Have a great day. Pastor Kenneth Whalum